It is about 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Pat Hawkins. I'm a member of the board of directors here at HVL. With me on the board are Tom Hamilton, Bob Starks, and Bill Minery. Donna Yetzer, our fifth board member, is in Florida, so we're not going to talk about her. Also here tonight is Jen Reuter from the golf course, Bruce Keller, our community manager, and sitting in the back is Rich Gannon, who is our new communications director, someone we needed desperately for a long time. He is going to help me a little bit with the one slide I probably couldn't have managed to do on my own. The reason you're here is the same reason that we volunteer to be on the board. We are all passionate about this community, and that passion is what led us in 2014 to purchase the Hidden Valley Lake Golf Club. For us, it was absolutely unacceptable that that acreage in the heart of our community be controlled by anybody other than us. I was certain of that then. I am even more certain now that buying that property was the best thing that we could have done. If I could have voted for it twice, I would have voted for it twice, but I couldn't. And that's why we're here. What we very much want is for this golf course to be very, very profitable. Now, to that end, and Rich, if you would be kind enough to put up here some numbers for the golf course. But before we start reviewing the golf course numbers, something that I think you need to remember is that your passion and ours translated into 1,200 members voting in the election for the purchase of the golf course. The choice was yours, and 93% of you voted to purchase the golf course. And I believe that your commitment is ours. You want this to succeed. Let's talk about where it is and how we got to where we are today in terms of everything's been out there on Facebook and all the listservs you've seen coming from me. I'm quite sure that when you see my name on a listserv anymore, you just delete it. Okay. My husband does. He said he has enough at home. Okay.
So he's not he's also on the last slide. He's also on the last slide. Okay. That's the last slide. He's got it there. Now. That'll go away when he starts to play. Oh.
Keep going, Rich.
He's got it.
Okay.
It's right there.
So one with the numbers.
No, keep going.
Goes to the next one. Hang on 1 second. Sorry.
There.
That's all right.
So we want it, now let's move on.
Okay. Keep going.
Wrong one.
Wrong one. It's the one with the numbers that shows income, expenses, net. There it is. All right.
Best laid plans.
The one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty, Rich is still doing a better job than I would have done with this. I would have still been fumbling
On some
around.
timer.
Number,
All right.
number 4, I think.
This one right here.
That one.
He's on the last slide. It hits play. It's going
One
to
down.
Next one down. There you go. Right there.
That one. All right.
when you hit play.
2015 is the first year that we had the golf course. We closed on its purchase in January of that year. And as you look at this, our revenues were $611,500, expenses $543, net income was $68,500. We had 254 members at the end of the year. In 2016, you can see that the revenue was up, the expenses were slightly up, the income was reasonably comparable, and we were up about 28 members. Last year, the third year of our ownership, our revenue was $628,000. Our expenses were $593,641. Our net income was $34,359. And our membership at the end of December 2017 was 264. Now, what we do with the net income is we plow it back into the golf course for capital improvements. I don't know if we have any golf club members here or any people who just play casually, But I think that the previous owners had, to some degree, practiced what I'll call benign neglect with it. They had some time frame in which they wanted to sell. It was just like you or me if you're going to sell your home. You're going to fix the things you have to, but you're not going to put in $20,000 worth of landscaping because you know why? You're never going to get it back when you sell your home. And so I think that that was the attitude with which they approached capital improvements there. And we knew going in that we would, for some period of time, be sinking an extremely high amount of money into the golf course to bring it up to what I call our standards for our own amenities. We like to keep them at a very high level. Okay, so we looked at this and we recognized that in 2017 we put a lot of money into that golf course. Oops. No problem. Primarily for the pump house. Now I don't know how many of you know it, but the lake, our lake is used to irrigate the golf course. We do not buy water from VRUC or anyone else to do that. We have a pump that runs under the road, and there's a pump house, and it was probably original to the back at the time this community started, and it needed some work. So we pumped, no pun intended, some money into that pump house. But that didn't leave us with a lot of cash to do things that we'd like to do. We'd like to make it prettier. We'd like to pave more of the golf course paths. We would like to do more in the clubhouse because our hope is that we can use that more for community things that are not golf related. Because you, as a member of the POA, you own that building. Just like you do, no, not Willie's, wrong example, just like you do the POA, although you do own Willie's from a physical standpoint, but it is an independent contractor who is running the business. So we looked at this and said, you know what? We need to come up with some more money in the way of capital. Because we promised you that we were going to assess you if you were willing, and we weren't going to go beyond that in terms of the money that we spent at the golf course. So, what the board did back in December, and if my voice is kind of all over the place, I apologize. I'm sucking on a cough drop. I hope not to bring up a lung before the night is over. But anyway, we went to folks who work at the golf course and said, you know what? We want to accelerate our spending on capital improvements, but we don't have the cash to do it. And we're not going to take money from the POA to do it. We promised people we wouldn't, and we have honored that commitment. So we are going to deputize you to come up with some ways that we can get people to join this golf club. Because the $90 that we are all assessed pays UCB for the note. The monies to run that on a day-to-day basis to keep the grounds looking nice come from the people who play there, be they members or be they residents here who go in and play and pay for a card or whatever it is they spend when they're over there. We didn't have enough money, so we gave them the green light to come up with ways of increasing our membership. And this is where it gets, I'm going to use the word interesting. That's a nice euphemism. In the first session, in which all board members were present, we did what we call a blue sky exercise. Now, I don't know if you've done those at your place of work or for volunteer groups. Make a suggestion for how we get more people to join this course. And we're not going to make any judgment whatsoever as to whether it is a thumbs up idea or it is hell would freeze over before we'd ever do that. We put them out there, wrote them down. And then the board went away and we left the task force to do their work. What the board didn't do, what I did not do, is I did not say to them, you need, since I am elected by the community and I am accountable to the community, I need a written recommendation from you, or even an oral recommendation from you, as to what you want to do. Because as the people who are eventually accountable to you for what happens in the POA, we are appropriately the people who review all these things before they were done. I did not do that, and that is on me. Hence the original email that went out to you that said that I accept full responsibility. Because the way this works is the golf course task force reported to Bruce. Bruce reports to the board. The board members chose me to lead them. If there is any one person who is accountable for this, it is me. And so it continues to be appropriate that I be the responsible person as far as this debacle. But let me tell you what happened. I found out about this when many of you did. In other words, when it reared its ugly little head on Facebook. And I have not spent 2 weeks concocting a cover story. I looked at that and said, and so I had to go back to everything that I had written, to anyone on the task force had written, Bruce had written, fellow board members had written. How did this happen? And at the end of the day, the only conclusion that could be made is that it was on me, that I did not say very clearly to people, I want you to come to me as a board member and my fellow board members and tell us what it is you want to do. They appropriately acted within the scope of the authority that they thought they had. I cannot fault them for that, and I won't. And I am grateful for all the time that they put in terms of generating ideas for the golf course. We stopped it when we found out about it. But let me just explain a little bit about a pilot. That's what I referred to in my original email. When you pilot something, you're trying it out. You want to see if it's going to work. If at the end of the day it's going to bring you more money, then you might lose. An example of that are these 10-round passes. We may have some golf members over there who golf 15 times, but who spend $1,400 for a membership. They might look at that and say, I can play about as much golf for a fraction of what I would spend otherwise. So you test it. How many do you lose versus how many do you gain? And so that was the purpose of trying that. That also would have been the justification for offering amenities that right now are confined to POA members or their guests. Would that do something to generate additional memberships? I think the limited amount of data that we have before it was stopped said no. It did not. So it is something that would have died on the vine anyway, but that does not excuse the lack of decision that I made as part of this. Now, moving forward, I choose to look at this as something that we can all learn from. And so moving forward, what we are going to do is we are going to put together a standard operating procedures for any group that is charged with a task force, be it they report to the committee, be it they report to the board, as to what are the exact scope of your responsibilities. Because again, being the only group here elected by you, we are the only group that is really easily accountable, and that's the way it should be to you. So whatever comes out that affects this community should have been made by us. But again, it is on me that the task force did not know that. Now what I would like to do, it really is that simple an explanation. And again, I haven't spent a couple weeks cooking this up. I've spent a couple weeks trying to figure out what happened. You know, the old show about what happened. That is what I have been doing. And as near as I can determine, that is what happened. But I am happy to answer your questions, take your criticism, your feedback. All you have to do, as is in previous meetings, is just tell us your name, your lot number, and you're good to go. Who would like to start?
I'd like to start. No.
You're fine. Yes.
My name is Tony Lucas, and I live in we have several on 2666. I'm a little confused because I don't do Facebook a lot, so I'm not sure what the problem, what happened that you're having.
Okay. What had happened is UCB, the bank right across from our main gate, they have a business of the month. And in January, the golf course was the business of the month. And so the task force put together this wonderful little board, just showcasing everything that was wonderful about our club and put it up there. And in it, it said, in addition to being a golf course, remember you get the 77 acres, you get the pool, you get the beach, and someone took a picture of that and posted it on Facebook. It truly, my husband and I bank at UCB, and it really makes me wish that I wouldn't use the drive-through, and I would have gone in and used the lobby. But anyway, I didn't. So I looked at it, and that was what got it started. And once something is on Facebook, it takes on a life of its own, unfortunately.
What it says
Get it
that
back.
the pool is included in the golf membership. That's
Right.
That's right.
And really, the thought of that, and actually at our Blue Sky session, that idea came from a board member. Again, no judgment, but just tossing it out. Because what that does is that puts you then on par with country clubs. And it gives you something that can be a competitive advantage for you. Again, not assigning any, this was a great idea, or quite this is the worst thing we could come up with, but just that it was an idea that was out there. Yes, Keith.
Keith Cheek, my wife knows our lot numbers. I don't. So
All right.
Ivy Hill. Couple things I believe it was in another place besides UCB, correct? Wasn't it in
Yes,
some
it was down.
it was outside of Cincinnati. You need to know
But
that.
I think that was on what was on Facebook. What was taken at UCB.
My question that has never been addressed anywhere on Facebook or anything is, unless let's say we didn't see it, when were we going to know about this? This summer when we showed up at our amenities, when were we going to know?
Well, again, and that goes back to the horrible communication outage. I found out about the same time you did. What would have happened, and again, this is no excuse, but after the holidays, when everyone was back, I'm assuming that Bruce would have brought us up to date, that we would have had a board meeting. But really, the unfortunate thing is not for that. It may have been a while before you knew. Yes.
Linda Miller, lot 2977. You would just clarify. Now, I heard it was the golf course, it was the pool, it was the fitness center and the pool. Where they got that fitness center for $100 for a year. But you have people here that live here and pay twice what they do for that fitness center and the pool. How many people can they bring to the pool?
You can bring 6 people free. If I remember
just
correctly,
like
to the
we
pool.
do. But my thing is, how can you give our amenities away when we're the ones that pay the dues? And aren't we? So, all said and done, why can't we get gates up again? Get our stickers on the car that we live here and everybody else. I'm sure people come in and out, that's fine. But wouldn't that be revenue for us?
If we
Put
were
them
to sell
stickers back on the
yes,
cars, like when we first moved here? Why can't we do that? We were told to go to the Parks and Recreation. You're the board. Can't you decide on that?
Well,
You did on
yes, but no. The way we operate is we prefer to have things come up through committees to us. Contrary to what people may think, we don't sit around trying to dream
Well,
up
I'm not
of
saying
things to
I'm not
impose
saying
on
that
people.
at all.
No, and I'm not implying that you are, but just that the way it works is committees tend to be a little closer to people. People are less uncomfortable going before committees. Let a committee work on an idea and bring it to the board. It is how we have operated for the most part.
Okay, so let's go back to the amenities that you're sort of giving away, because I belong to that
Okay.
fitness center.
Now, understand, Bruce, is anyone at this point in time taking advantage of any of those amenities?
We had 2 non-Hidden Valley Lake members that were interested in the pool. Out of all that, we gave them their money back. It's a dead issue.
Okay.
What
On
about
the
the fitness
fitness center, we had 3 Hidden Valley Lake residents that were interested, and their price has been paid in full by the golf course. So they're not getting it for $100. They're getting it for what you have to pay, $216 a
But the golf
year.
course paid it? Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct.
It was an add-on with the golf.
It was an add-on with the golf course. It was going to cost them
Everything was set
$100
up.
with the membership. So,
Right. But to answer your question, I did receive a number of very thoughtful emails, people who are currently fitness club members, and they only use it a few months out of the year, or they have children that they are told are not old enough to use it. And I have forwarded those to Bruce, and I think it's on his agenda and ours to review the pricing structure at the fitness center. Well, I mean, at a certain age, it may be appropriate. Under a certain age, you don't want them in there for 8%, just for your own safety. Yes, sir.
Casey Kennedy, I own multiple lots in Hidden Valley. I got a question here. It sounds to me like we're trying to rob from Peter to pay Paul. If we're going to design a task force to start doing things like this, and their price is going to be cheaper than a resident's price, it would be cheaper for me to sell my properties without paying taxes and pool dues and all that on them, and become a member of the golf course, and be able to use all these amenities. I mean, what's the perk of being a homeowner here versus the POA? When you're bringing all these extra people in, you know who's got to eat the cost to replace the chairs at the pool that are expensive, or replace the fitness equipment. It isn't the golf course, it's the people sitting right here that are paying their dues.
Okay. Let me just respond to that. I hope that everyone here heard that, and I might need some help as to what the current price is. For tax purposes, the golf course and the POA are separate. But the reality is, the POA is the golf course and the golf course is the POA. Now, one way to look at that, a non-resident who has a membership at the golf course, that's what, $1,400?
Depends if it's a single or a double. Single person's $1,300. The family's $1,600.
For non-residents.
Those people,
For anybody who wants to join the golf course, it's $1,600 for a family. It's $1,300 for a single.
okay, so it's 1,300 single. Okay, those folks do not live here, but they are spending a good deal of money for something that is ours. So as much as it may rankle to think that they're getting the fitness center for $100, when if my husband and I went to join, it would be $260 a year. If my math is correct, but the two of us. It's $18 a month.
$1,080 a year for 5.
Yeah, so that's 36 a month times, well, that's a lot. Okay, yeah, okay. 40, but I'm calculating. So when you look at it that way, they are paying a considerable amount of money to keep up something that is physically here that benefits us. So I don't think that they are getting a tremendous bargain. They are already, when you think about it, spending more on that golf course than I am. I am not a member. My husband was a member the first year, $1,200. He played golf 4 times. I told him that was $300 a round. He wasn't doing it again unless he paid more. He will buy one of the 10-card golf course things this year, but not a membership at the rate that he pays. Yes.
Yeah, Ryan Stewart. I don't know what lot I live on, but we just moved here in May, and
Welcome.
I don't understand why the fitness center isn't included when we moved up from Fort Scott, which every community we lived in, that was always included in your HOAs and stuff. And that fitness center is hardly ever used anyway. Instead of charging $80 for the family, or $90 a month for the family, why wouldn't you make it cheaper? If not, give it to us for free like it should be, and then build off of that revenue. Because it's crazy. The not $1,080. It seems like for the memberships for the golf course and stuff, they kind of just throw that in as a perk. Like, here, you can also have that. Why don't you throw it into us as a community as a perk, which, so we could have that to use without paying for it.
Okay. I hear you, Bruce. What does the fitness center contribute to the community's bottom line?
This is just it's a pretty good guess. Anywhere from $35,000 to $42,000 a year we get in for memberships. The reason that it wasn't included is in the membership to begin with. And Dick, you were on the. Where's Dick at? That's why I couldn't see you in front of me. But Dick was on the original committee that was checking into that, correct? And when it was weren't you with Jen with?
Well, I was right at the end of.
Oh, okay. Well, what happened was it was developed. The whole thing was developed as we were building the new facility over there. As far as the family memberships, I personally agree with you 100%. We need to come way down, and we probably, if there's an adult with them, might want to look into bringing down the age some too of who can come in. Right now, you have to be 16 to come in there, but that's to work out by yourself.
I mean, I think more families more people would be there if it was cheaper than less people it being so expensive. I think the revenue would be better.
I think you're going to see that coming.
And
That's a great
you
idea.
know what, though? I go down there every now and then when I feel guilty about one thing or another. I go down for a few weeks and then I'm back to normal. But I don't know that it has the capacity for 2,000 families is the problem. So if you make it an amenity for everyone, then everyone goes. But I don't know how you would reasonably get the community through that. Yes, sir.
Mark Smith, Gravenhurst. Sorry, I don't know the lot number. I'm confused. So people can buy the membership and have amenities right now, or not?
No.
Oh, so what? It's a new point then.
Other than how we got there. And
Sorry, it took me a minute to catch up with
But
it.
something that came out of the emails that I got was that there was a lot of confusion and maybe in the minds of people, many people, a better way to do the fitness center. And as I said, I have passed those on to Bruce for consideration as to the ages of people, the amount that's being charged, and everything else.
If Bay needs help with the task force, I'm willing to help out with awesome
Thank you.
volunteers. You guys looking for some?
Yes, Bob.
Bob Horning, 1495, 6 and 7. What I see here is a dangerous precedent. I understand what you just said, but it's a dangerous precedent that our amenities are being given away for something without anybody having a chance to vote on it. And I've noticed over the last couple of years there's been a number of issues. I know we're not talking about other stuff tonight. But
We're finished with the golf course. We are happy to listen to whatever
But-
concerns you may have.
I've noticed a number of things that don't come out until after they're already done. And in one or two cases, I've noticed that when I have talked about it, that it was under the dollar ceiling that you have to come to the public. I was told that at one of the meetings on one of the issues. And it just seems that we need to be more informed about stuff before things happen. And the thing with the, if you let us, other people use the pool and the beach, that's only one step away from the lake. And our lake's already too crowded.
But are you aware that there are people who don't live here that use our lake? There are many people who don't live
Well,
here.
owners of lots, yeah.
No.
That don't have that either. I am not aware of that.
How they get
Well, what will happen is generally happens in the fall. So over the spring, late summer, groups will come in that want to do some type of a charity or scientific thing on the lake. They are there. Our ball fields are open to people who do not live here. The POA pays to maintain those. So that precedent has already been broken, per se, in that you and I are paying. I don't play ball. I don't have any school-age children. I don't use the ball field, but I believe it is a good thing to have them there and to have them open to the larger community. Now, I agree with you in that when you are talking about amenities that require your ID card, you have to have it scanned at the pool or the beach. That is a line that I believe that
Well,
the board
explain
should
to me
vote on.
more about the lake.
sticker on your boat. Yeah, because nobody sees.
I've never heard that anybody, I thought you had to own property or live here.
And forever gone. don't live very far from it. Have you ever gone out for the concrete canoe races?
But those are voted.
Oh, that's an event though.
It's brought to the board and voted.
But again, it is your paid-for amenity that is open to an outside group.
It's not a good example.
Well, even that might be okay for a one-time thing. But are you telling me that there are people that have boats that they can bring their pontoon boat in anytime they want? Okay, well, that would be.
That the lake is used by people.
I would consider that more of a community service. And I don't have a problem with community service stuff, where it's benefiting the community, and that would go along with the people. But if we had individuals that were able to put their boats in that have no locks or nothing. But see, we're only one step away from that if we do the pool. That's my main concern.
I understand. And I think I've already explained that if I had an opportunity to do a do-over, which I do not, but if I did, that I would have made very clear that before anything was implemented that involved things we have never offered before, that the board had to be aware of it. And quite frankly, my history on the board is I like to make as much out to the public as possible.
Good.
Not only does it give you a voice, but it makes my life a little bit easier, which I'm always looking to do. Yes, ma'am.
So let me understand, you had no knowledge of any of this, no one came to you and said this is what we're putting up at UCB concerning our amenities, you had no prior knowledge?
I did not.
What about the whole board or Bruce Keller?
But I don't think this is on the task force. I think this is on me.
Why?
But here, yeah.
Wait a minute, you enabled them, wait a minute, you enabled them to do this service, to do that. So once you enable another person to take that responsibility, then you've essentially given that to them. Why is that your fault? It's not. It was the task force who did not come to tell it.
I did not give them the parameters. Thank you.
Now that's kind of,
That's why I said that is on me. That is not on them. And I will not criticize them for that, and I don't want them to be criticized for that. That is on me. So it is a live and learn for me to my board to-do list. I need to put in place something that will be there after I am no longer on the board, that will ensure
kind of common
that
sense,
something.
don't you think? Kind of common sense?
Okay. Yes, Karen.
Karen Hackett, 621 is our lot number. What, in Pat, I saw Pat here, and he can probably better answer this. Okay. What is membership at the golf course outside residents? At one time it was about 65 to 35.
No, it still is. About 31% of the golf course members live in Hidden Valley.
Hidden Valley. Okay. That was what my question was.
Yes, sir.
Where we can have our input when you want to raise money.
First, could we just for the record have your name and lot number? Okay. Okay. Why can you not have? Why do we not have an open forum?
Open forum, email forum, anything, where we can make suggestions on how to raise money to help.
I'm glad you asked that. Rich Gannon, who I introduced early on, is our communications director. Because we looked at everything that we do and don't do and said, you know what, our communications could really be a lot better. And Rich knows his stuff, and he is here to help us. And at the business meeting on Saturday, I was still kind of half asleep, it was early. One of the things we talked about is the use of different survey tools to get input from residents on stuff that may never make a board meeting, because the board meetings tend not to be very well attended unless you have to present something or you've got a particular axe to grind at the moment. By and large, if you have no issues before the board, you're not going to take a Thursday night and come to a board meeting. But how can we tap into people who certainly have an interest in the community? You would not be here tonight if you didn't. How can we tap into that without tying you down to the commitment of a board meeting? And Rich is going to work that. And if you would like to give any ideas you have to Rich, I think he'd appreciate it, as would I. Yes, sir.
My name's Michael Nern. I live on Hampton Drive. everybody in here can agree that there is great concern about what transpired, and I think this meeting is bringing everybody together to make sure that type of thing doesn't happen again. The thing that concerns me most is a 1% drop in revenue, a 5% increase in expenses, and a 50% drop in income. We got to do something different.
That is correct.
It's not going to flow.
Well, and really, and that was the impetus for the task force, because we want to put money into that to make it better. But when you look at ending your fiscal year with that, I think that's maybe 10 feet of cart path, maybe. I don't know. And so that was the whole reason for empowering people to make suggestions. Because you know what? What we've been doing is obviously not working. Now, something to recognize, and we all know this, and I'm sure that even if you're just a casual consumer of the news, you know it. Golf is a declining sport. It does not enjoy the participation level it once did. I mean, maybe it's money, maybe it's time. It takes a long time to play 18 holes of golf, but
We should be able to maintain the 10%.
well, I will tell you, Pat, and correct me on this if I'm a little off. We held our own against our local competitors. That's no consolation when you look at these numbers. But we are not doing as bad as others are, and I attribute that to the leadership at the golf course and with Bruce helping them.
That was a clubhouse, right? Clubhouse is big expense. It's making that golf course survive.
Yes,
And
it
we
has
need
to.
get down and dirty on it.
The golf course really, it has to survive as it is. In my opinion, I want it to stay a golf course for as long as it can. And I'm hoping that's forever.
I agree with you, but I can't agree with you if you're saying it's got to stay the way it is now. Because I can't agree with that.
No. The golf
I have
course.
some issues with the management.
No. The golf course has to stay there in the middle of our community. I do not play golf, but it is a beautiful green oasis that really, overall, I think to an outsider looking to move here, when you look at everything we have to offer, and the golf course is there, that is just a tremendous feather in our cap. But we obviously have to do something. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Ken Horn on lot 2791 and 92. I care about the community. I'm a member of the Fish and Game Club. I'm a member of the Land Use Planning Task Force. And I don't represent the Fish and Game Club here, but from the gist of what I understand, the reason the amenities are being offered is they were trying to grow the golf course revenue.
That is correct.
All right. Something that I've wondered every year, and I've mentioned at the time before during our monthly meetings at the Fish and Game Club, is we sponsor a golf scramble once a year. All right, and it is at Sugar Ridge every year, and I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And again, I'm just an interested person in this, but I was always told we can't have it here because we have it on a Saturday. They could do it another day, but not on a Saturday. And it always kind of sticks in my craw that we own the golf course, but we can't get we don't have it 10 times a year. It's one Saturday in September every year. I don't know why, since you're attempting to get revenue for the golf course. Do you have oversight, or does the gentleman who runs the golf course, does he have carte blanche where he decides?
Well, first, I can answer that to a great degree. The schedule is set at the beginning of the year. And there are regular member tournaments for the people that are paying the $1,300 and the $1,600, typically on Saturdays and Sundays, or not Sundays usually, but Saturdays for sure. And so what we've tried to do is Pat has tried to meet with your group and say, hey, let's pick another day. Let's pick an afternoon. Let's do something. There's not, in my opinion, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, and any of the golfers here, I don't know of too many golf clubs that you can go out and get an outing on a Saturday morning.
I'm not a golfer.
I'm just telling you, that's not something that's out there in the market.
Again, I'm not a golfer. All I'm saying, it just always seems fun to me.
One at a time. Yeah, no. I want everyone to.
I'm not a
let you
golfer.
speak.
I don't know how the ins and outs are. Right. It doesn't pass my smell test.
I agree with you.
That we own the golf course, and we do it one Saturday a year, not every month or every quarter, one time a year. I don't know why we can't have an exemption to have a scramble there one Saturday morning out of 365 days out of the year.
That
One
is
day.
that is a fair
Because
point.
the last September, Sugar Ridge, we had 88 golfers. Most of them don't play golf here. Now, if those 88 people from out of here, don't you think they may like the course and maybe they would buy memberships down the road, and you're growing more revenue? I mean, you're looking at, I don't know exact numbers, but with 88 golfers and what it was, it's around $5,000 in that neighborhood. I mean, that's revenue. We're giving our amenities away to increase revenue, but the people who live here and own the amenity can't use them. One Saturday morning a year. And I don't think that's right.
We will talk that with Pat. For those of you who may not know how this works, Monday at this golf course is essentially a down day. It's for maintenance, and it's also when outings are held. And the Fish and Game Club, like most normal people, I would think would want an outing on the weekend. I mean, most people work, and so Monday's a vacation day if they want to take it off for an outing. So your point is taken.
Yeah, the challenge you're going to have is the golfers, the 264, 282, and 254 are not going to appreciate the fact that somebody's coming on their Saturday morning. I mean, that's the challenge.
One Saturday a year.
No. I understand.
One
It is
Saturday
one
a year.
Saturday a year. I understand.
$1,600 for that privilege. But one Saturday a year for the people who own the course.
No. Your point is a good one, Bruce. We will talk this with you separately. Bridget.
Bridget Pryor, 2260. Thanks for remembering my name.
I do remember your name.
My question is, you referred to task force throughout many board meetings, many Saturday CPM meetings or whichever.
Right, the one this past Saturday. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was there. For everybody in this room, you all should have been there. They are great meetings to attend. I will give credit to that. It was a nice breakfast. There was a lot more that goes on at that meeting than anybody probably really imagines goes on at that meeting. They do listen to you. They take your input. But my question is task force.
Yes, but 1 second before you do. That is attributable to George and Becky Lortz, who I see back there, who ran the meeting on Saturday. And another thank you to you. Yes, Bridget.
So, my question is, we talk about these, but I understand the point of them and what they do, but how do they get formed? Who picks the people? Who are they nominated, or is it the person that's running the specific committee or whatever that picks the task force? Who does that? 'Cause
right.
Maybe that's kind of where it needs to go out and about.
You know, the answer to that is it depends, which is a perfect weasel term. There, in the case of this, what we did is we went to the people who know the golf course the best, because while I look at their financial reports and I hear about what they're doing and read meeting minutes, I'm not over there every day. I don't have my finger on the pulse of what's going over there. So it consisted of people who were at the golf course and us telling them, folks, we need to get more money. Now, something else I will tell you, and you face this in your own homes, if you want more money for something, you have to either cut your spending in other areas or you have to raise your income. We have already taken steps to cut our operating expenses at the golf course by eliminating a position. So that is money we do not have to spend, and that will be going to our bottom line. But we went to them. Now, moving forward, if we are looking for, pardon?
What was that position you eliminated?
It was the second golf pro. Moving forward, if we want to continue with this, we would probably go out to people who have an interest in golf but may not golf because they don't like the course for one reason or another. That might be a way of getting new ideas and new blood into that.
Okay, and I have one more recommendation with the golf club, and I don't know, I have a lot of friends. I golf a couple of times a year, usually on outings, and unfortunately they're on Saturdays. I pay $100 to the 1st of June to go to Grand Vic and golf in the firemen's outing to help raise money for all the volunteer firemen and women and men across the Cincinnati metropolitan area. It's a wonderful fundraiser. I pay $100. Do I get my $100 out of it? Maybe not. We have a good time though. But we spend more money on top of that with Envier, like the gentleman in front of us was saying. So they do happen on Saturday, and they usually are huge events. They have to have, they close the whole entire golf course for that, because they have 2 sections. They have a morning one and an afternoon round that come in and do this. So if it's advertised and publicized correctly, I think you would get more response for those, to where, yes, those people may come in. My other thing with that is we live here and we get one pass for 4 rounds of golf. But me and my husband are the only 2 that golf in our home. So we either give 2 rounds away, or there's another one of our friends, he golfs all the time. He has to find three people to go with him to get his money for that pass. Maybe we should do a hole punch where you can do 2 people at one time, or whatever, and that way they're not all 4.
Okay, Richard, just a second. Jen, is that something that's feasible? They do it.
That's not how it was advertised in the beginning. It was said that you had to use all 4
Okay.
at one time.
Would it help if we sent out a listserv or just put something on the webpage that if you are by yourself or you are a couple, just bring it in and you get your 4 punches and it's done. That way it may be far more useful for you. Okay.
I think your community would use them more.
Okay. Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, sir.
Sam Melton, lot 1044. A couple things, and going back to the conversation on the golf course and the 264 members and that Saturday compared to, the problem is you can't cater to both. You can't try and grow revenue and not have weekend tournaments if you're going to cater to the 264 on Saturday. It just it doesn't work like that. And you can not close the course. You can make those guys. If I golf a lot, and maybe I should tell you something. I've been here for 2 years and I haven't played the course since I've been here. And I'm playing hundreds of rounds a year. But if it's a Saturday and I can go pay $60 and play in a scramble over there and get chicken and no beer and whatever, I'm gonna go do that compared to coming here on a Saturday and paying $45. Unless I have the membership. You got to look at it both ways. But I know you can't close every Saturday and have a tournament, but there's got to be some things, especially for the people here in the community, to do.
And you know what you bring up is the interesting challenge, because we have 2 groups here, both of whom are absolutely essential to this golf course. The property owners who are paying the assessment that pays the mortgage, and the members who are playing golf and pay for the actual operation of it. We very much need each other, but sometimes our interests are in conflict. And so the question is, how do you work that out? What I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way to this end of the room, and then I'm going to come back.
Can I get one more?
Yes.
And just real quick, and explain it to me if I'm wrong in this thinking, but one of the big problems I had with just the advertisements that went out and offering the amenities is we have a lot of bylaws. Very specific bylaws, things that are, I know, enforced and like that. And as I was kind of skimming through those, it talks about like the pool. And, if you're a resident here, you got guest passes, it goes through those things. And it also says, 2 readings to change anything or add
changing a rule requires 2 public readings, yes.
Which was not going to happen. It did not happen with this.
Well, but understand, this is really not a rule, and as I was looking, as you are confronting exactly what happened, and you're thinking, oh wow, I went back and reread the Articles of Incorporation and the bylaws, and I don't want to say anything that's going to scare the snot out of you, but there is nothing in there to stop this board from doing that. There is nothing in those bylaws that says that our amenities cannot be offered to people who do not live here, who do not pay the POA fees and assessments. They are not there. Now, I'm not
That's
sure,
probably open to
and Jared,
interpretation.
our attorney is here.
Yes.
Because that is one of the questions that we asked him, because unfortunately many of the changes that we have are made after something like this happens. It is a reaction to something that happened that reasonable minds say shouldn't have happened. So we checked this with Jared, and would you like to talk that for a couple minutes?
Absolutely. Folks, the original, I'll stand up, Jared Eubank. I grew up here in the Valley. This has been my home since
my first home ever, actually. So I'm one of the first kids born in '77 who actually grew up in the Valley. But those articles of incorporation, they go back to 1971, and Hidden Valley Inc. came together, and the POA was formed and whatnot. But part of it, when you do articles of incorporation, you never limit the abilities of what you can do. You always try to say, if you're in a train business, you don't say we only do trains. You say we can conduct any lawful business as allowed. And that's how our articles were formed. And part of that is that when they did do the articles, they left there's 3 different membership classes in articles and organizations. There's everyone sitting here, the members, and then there's 2 other provisions. Honorary members, and let me check my facts here. Honorary members, of course, who are these people? Nobody. I don't think anybody besides the Rupels were ever associate members or honorary memberships. So like I said, there's room in the articles to expand. I can say this from experience. This board has been doing more to rectify, close up loopholes with our rules than any other board prior. This is things they've addressed with me, and I think that as we move forward as a community, that is something that could be on the table. Do we limit some of these membership rights? So, like I said, Pat is aware of these, and like I said, it's her concern just as much as the board, just as much as your concern. Like I said, these are very old bylaws. We're looking at 74, re-amended in 91. So we're rehashing them, blowing off the dust, and we are going to take another look and putting them together. So if you may stand up. Anybody have a question for me or anything?
Have any questions for Jared while he's up? You have a question for Jared? He's the lawyer. He'll give a better answer.
I'll say it depends more.
I don't think that Marjorie speaking and it's lot 1334. I don't think that what this group would want to do is to try to plan everything that's going to come out in the future and rigidly determine it. But it seems to me that what I'm hearing is there aren't policies and procedures in place that govern how these decisions are made, like how a task force is formed, what composition the members of a task force, how many, what different, we didn't get all the interests that need to be represented on the task force, And so there's ways that can be done, and you kind of implied the fact that you would have to do something to change how things happen, to make sure that it's that kind of begin. But really, it's really a bylaw. I would like to make a proposal, I guess, that the bylaws be revised to include provisions about how decisions are made, what the procedure is, so that everyone is informed and has a chance to participate and have a voice in the decision. And particularly when something like this is involved, that it ensures that everyone has an interest in the community, has the opportunity to participate in the decision, and it doesn't just fall on line 5, 7. And I don't know how to do that, but I would ask.
I'm not sure standing here right now I know either.
Well, I mean, I know how to write bylaws, but I don't know how to get the board to consider that. I could draft suggested changes, or you could form a task force out of people who choose to. But I think the problem is the policies and procedures are not working.
Jared has graciously offered to answer this.
First off, there is a bylaw, and I only know this because I just recodified your entire bylaws. There is a bylaw for changing a rule. It is contained in there. How do you offer it? You write it out, you present it at a regular board meeting, and the board must, pursuant to the bylaws, listen to your suggestion. Whether they accept it is not is another story, but they must, pursuant to their own bylaws, listen. Now, one other question you were asking, I was just talking to James head of the judicial panel, not head, but James is the man. Just talking to him about our rules. I just want to make sure you guys understand that the Old Man and the Sea has 27,000 words. Your bylaws right now have 52,000. You are twice as long as the Old Man and the Sea.
But better written.
And it's better written. But when you start going, the rules are getting longer and longer. And my suggestion to the community is that sometimes you just have to let the board have discretion. The board did catch the mistake and did fix it. The issue is that sometimes by adding more rules, you're overcomplexing the existing.
We caught the mistake.
Well, so sorry. I misspoke. But like I said, you can rule yourself to death sometimes. So
I agree.
Rules, I think this probably would need less rules if you had better decision-making procedures in college.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Kirkman here, lot 1144. I'm a property owner, also a member of the golf club. My big concern is if we're going to be sharing our amenities with outside people.
Okay. Now understand, right now we are not. That horse is dead and buried.
If we are, is there a reason why they cannot contribute to the POA dues? I have to.
Why non-resident golf course members?
Golf people who are amenities. Why they would not be expected to pay POA dues just like myself as a property?
Okay, and by dues, you mean the whole assessment that we pay twice a year? Okay, understand. Okay, but understand that is gone. But it is an interesting rhetorical question as to why we wouldn't. Yes, ma'am.
Kathy.
Okay.
Okay, and maybe this doesn't even relate anymore, but for those of you who don't go swimming at the pool, okay, it is so overcrowded already. On the weekends, it opens at 12. If you are not there by 1 o'clock, you do not get a chair. It is so overcrowded in that pool, and it has to do with birthday parties and just families who, have the right to be there. I can't imagine even 12 more people there.
You know what is interesting? After all this happened, as you go back and you gather all your information, Bruce, you had spoken with Angie Ruberg about what the pool usage is, and what did it say?
Yeah.
See, with my skin, I go when nobody else is there, when it's kind of dark, and not a lot of sun, and so it's me and 2 other fools who are in the pool. No crowds, but
we have a capacity at the swimming pool of 307, I believe it is. It's 307 or 317. And so I had asked Angie last year to do a survey. And the interesting thing is we rarely get anywhere close to that. But what I have learned through this process is the problem is we don't have enough chairs.
No.
And so that's what we're going to fix. We're going to get some more seating for over there. But again, this thought of this amenity is gone.
Bruce,
and so
when you have to walk in the pool, I can't. You're saying 307 people can be in that pool at once?
I was going to say the same thing.
That's
I don't think so.
It'd be pretty crowded in there, wouldn't it?
I got it from the state. They're the ones that came in and they check it. So, and they say this is the number. So that's what does it, Kathy. I don't determine it.
Okay. Yes, sir. I finally made my way over here.
Carl Brown, I think it's 1504, 1505, whatever. We just moved it about a year ago. The reason we moved is because of the amenities that we have access to. It was private access, whatever. The fact that that's gone, that's great. As far as the golf course, I don't play golf, but if I did, and I have to do things that have memberships, if I sign up for something and they know from the get-go, like the gentleman said about doing the special game days or whatever for Saturdays, if I know that ahead of time at the time of signing up for membership, hey, we have reserved to schedule days throughout the year, not every weekend or whatever. Just if I'm going to be there playing golf, I'm still going to show up to the event, just because that's something that I have interest in.
Right.
So it's not like I'm giving up a day of golf. It's I'm doing something good for the community as well as other people. So I don't see that being an issue. You can't, like in the gentleman's like, right, you can't cater to both. Obviously, the golf course is making enough money to get rid of it, so they're going to have to start letting people in on stage and golf people on stage.
Let me just clarify something you just said, Violet. Thank you for your input. If we didn't make the choice to pump a lot of money into upgrading that, those numbers would be so much sweeter. But that's not the way we like to do business. We like to have everything here maintained to a very high level. And so we made strategic choices over plowing money back into the golf course. Moving forward, that's not an option for us to do it at that level unless membership goes up. And again, going back, that was the impetus for the task force. Yes, sir.
Can I clarify?
Yes, and Jen would like to clarify something.
The words that people are using are, we're giving away our amenities. There was nothing that was being given away. There was nothing that was for free. What was not being paid by the person who was joining the golf club was being paid by the club to the POA. This was not a money-making proposition for the golf course. It was being passed through to the POA. What was going to help the course was possibly attracting new members.
And to give you some of the math on that,
Right, buy a house. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen.
but to give you some of the math on that, realize when someone joins that golf course and spends $1,300 to $1,600 to play golf, that doesn't include carts. So each one of those members that join, I'd say on average, is between $2,000 to $2,500 to you. So if some, and the reason the task force came up with that, if you ended up with 10 extra members, you had 20 to 25,000 in additional revenue. Now, that didn't sit well with people. Here we get that. It's not a problem. But understand that was the goal, because we looked at these figures. We saw, as you pointed out, that these numbers have fallen off, and they've fallen off because of the expense side. We've done some corrections there. The task force is made up by golfers. It's made up by people in the golf business that are not part of here. It's got a variety of different people in it that are inputting. This isn't the only idea. They did the golf show trying to gain some members down there. Pat Sullivan, how many outings did you book last year? 22. Booked 22 golf outings here. Those are a very big thing for us that we do. So, they work very hard. Don't hold this against them. If this goes on anybody, it goes against the board. Okay? So anyway.
Okay. Sir, you had a question or a comment.
Just to follow up on the gentleman over there about the Saturdays. We do give our pool up to the swim team. Both my kids came up through that.
Sure.
So we do share the pool with outside organizations. So it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if it sounds great with 22 different outings. So it sounds like you're doing that already.
They do a fine job of booking the outings.
Then if you do, like you say, only one Saturday a month, then another club can go, well, they got it, why can't I? So you definitely have to work with scheduling ahead of time to make that work. It's got potential.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Ashley.
Okay. Couple things. One, no disrespect, Mr. Eubank, but I believe that you do have to be a property owner to be able to facilitate some of this amenity things we're talking about. And I know you'll have an opinion, and somebody else would have an opinion, and we wouldn't be able to decide it. That would, if it came down to that, that would end up in a court of law for a decision, I'm sure, because I would have to reread them with that in mind. But my guess is there's two opinions on that. No disrespect, because I know you've looked at that, but I just want to make sure I understand that no board members or Bruce Keller knew about this before it was taken anywhere.
We knew that it was something that had been generated at the Blue Sky session. Did I personally know that this was being offered,
the board
or the board?
Bruce?
I will speak for myself. I did not know.
I'll speak for myself. I did know.
You did know.
Yes, I did. But as I was explained earlier, with the process of the group, we went forward thinking that we were okay with that. Okay?
Okay.
You know, I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to make a comment, and Jared could back this up. This board created a book of ethics that never existed until just a few years ago. And this is not something that's in our book of ethics, because it never came up before, never occurred to us. But we try to adhere to a very rigid set of ethics among this group. And you're all welcome to see a copy of it. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's going to be in the future, it's going to be included with the rules and regulations.
I think it's already on our webpage.
Okay, good. So please take a look at it. That's what we try to live to, and we're going to try to improve that as time goes on.
But so who else knew?
And something else, I heard somebody mention about an amount of money. So some years ago, there were complaints because the POA building was built without anybody's input. And this was before I was on the board. It was $850,000 that was spent without any of your input. I've worked diligently for the last 10 years, and this year, Mr. Eubank has filed it with the state that it's now a requirement for any future board to come to you if they want to spend more than 15% of the annual budget.
Which is $300,000.
Yes,
exactly.
it is. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that this board did. You know, we've worked very hard to try to represent you the best we can. Unfortunately, you know, this got past us, but it did.
Yeah, and remember that $300,000 is discretionary money. Obviously, if the dam breaks, after we run for cover, we would have to spend whatever it took, and there's no discretion in that.
So nobody else is going to answer my question.
That 15% rule was also awarded to avoid game playing. The total in any 1 year cannot exceed 15%. So some conniving board can say, okay, we'll spend half of it 1 year, half of it the next year for one big project. We also said, and no project in its entirety, even if it covers 2 years, can exceed $300,000. That is without your vote. Yeah.
Correct.
You know, we can spend $500,000 if we want, but we have to come to you just like we did with the golf course. And it's in the Articles of Incorporation, not the bylaws, because if you put it in the bylaws, a future board can take it out. Articles of Incorporation, to change that, it has to be voted on by the community, which you did. We also got rid of the Taliban rule that said only the first names on the deed can cast that membership vote, which is predominantly the man. We extended it to anybody whose name appears on the deed of that property can cast the one vote. So a lot of times, it's the first one to the mailbox gets the cast. Gets the vote. And,
especially if there's disagreement in the household.
How do I resolve that with my wife?
All right, now, Ashley, you wanted your question answered, correct?
I mean, I knew it was under discussion, but it didn't come to us for a vote or anything. I certainly didn't know. First time I saw it was I went in and cashed a check at UCB and saw a sign. That's the first time I saw it.
Bob?
Actually, I think I might have suggested it to the community, but I had no idea. What my thought was, if anything, was that if there was a lot of interest with golf course members, how many people here go camping? Does anybody go camping? You know, a lot of times you'll go to a big campground. You'll go to a big campground where there's lots of campers, and the swimming pool is a 20 by 40 residential style swimming pool. You could put one in over here for, you know, $30,000. If the golf course could support that, it would be worth, you know, it would be worth the golf course investing in it. How many people that live around there would prefer to go to a 20 by 40 pool that's part of the golf course as opposed to driving to the other side of the lake? You know, but so far it doesn't appear as though. What about the people that belong to the golf course? I don't want the parking lot taken up by people that don't belong to the golf course.
Well, the good news is, the question is, where would that swimming pool that will likely never happen go? We own those first lots on Fairway. if you
What
think
I'm
back,
saying is, if there was
I'll let Bob finish.
Yes, if there was interest.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. But you know, that's something we kick around. We do own those first lots on Fairway. They were part of the golf course purchase, as were some building lots back as you're going out the back gate onto Georgetown Road. Now, Bill, I think you're the last person to answer Ashley's question, and then I will move on to the next person.
Yeah, I was in the discussions where it was talked about, and I can certainly see where the implication was that it was permitted, but there was never a vote by the board, and that's where the communication was in.
Correct. Okay. All right. Any question moving over here? Yes, Mr. Horn.
I've got a question on we get the pass every year for 4 free
Yes.
rounds of golf,
Yes.
right? But I'm not a golfer, so I'm not real up on it, but you have to rent a cart when you use that free golf?
No.
You have
Yes.
to pay for the golf cart,
Or
right?
you can walk it. My husband tried that once.
All right. My question is, and I've had people that say, well, I think it's like $16 a person for the cart or something. So they're saying, well, that's $64. You're really not getting free golf.
No, that would be $16. Well, if you used it one at a time, yes,
$64.
it would be $64. Yes. Okay. Well, you know what? That is a suggestion for moving forward to make those
I was
passes
going to say,
more
if you're going to
usable.
give, I know they're trying to make money, and I think I make money on the golf rentals. But if you're going to give the homeowners 3-4 rounds of golf for being a homeowner and paying dues here, why isn't the cart included? It just seems like.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes, sir. I haven't called on you yet.
I live on Deer Road. When I came out here to look at this place, I looked to see where the pool was purposely. I go out on the other side of the lake to stay away from the pool. If you start discussing the pool on this side, I'd like to know about it.
Okay.
Over there, and the other people over there.
You know, I think we should see if you just working. A lot of things. A lot of things. Yes, Luann.
Luann Roberts, 1428. The numbers that were on the screen, where did they come from? Were those audited numbers? Or?
Our numbers, well, obviously the 2017 numbers are being audited now. The golf course as well as the POA are audited every year. The auditor is on site now to do the 2017 numbers. So those numbers for 2017 came from Jen Reuter, who is the business, I believe they are. Yes.
My other question is, I was on Parks and Rec, and for 3 or so years, we had no budget, 0. So are our amenities being taken care of? Or is, I totally want the golf course to succeed, but is the golf course using up all the money so the other things aren't taken care of?
Okay.
And my other question is, can it be put in the paper, the budget, like the POAs in there?
Okay. Let you have 2 questions. Let me answer the first one, if I can remember back to what it was. Can you refresh my memory? As far as the audited numbers or just numbers for the golf course going in, I don't think that would be a problem, would it, Jen? For numbers for the golf course, how it's doing financially, being part of Echoes, being on the website.
I believe that they're in our final report for the audit every year, which you are more than welcome to have a copy of, and it should be on our website.
Right. Now, the other question.
Paper so that everybody can see, like, the POA's budget's in there all the time.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't see any reason why that can't be. I mean, there's nothing to hide there. The numbers are what the numbers are. Might as well
but
put
are
them out.
the other amenities being taken care of, or is this
No,
eating up
something
our
to
money?
understand. When we asked you to vote for the purchase of the golf course, we told you that your commitment was $90 a year over the length of that mortgage.
Right.
I voted for it too.
Right, I did too.
Okay. That is another thing that is making the Capitol here a challenge, because we have honored that commitment. We are not going to the POA and saying, well, you know what, I know that they want a marina at the shelter, I know that people want pickleball, but darn it, we're going to pay for that pump house over there. No. We made you that promise, and we have stuck to that promise.
Are we borrowing money?
Are we borrowing
money for the golf course?
The POA is not borrowing money for the golf
from the
course.
POA then, basically?
The golf cart were purchased on a loan, which is 5 years, and we're what, 1 year into it? Yeah, yeah.
And they are
But
paying-
again, that
and they are
becomes,
paying
yeah,
interest.
that becomes part of the operating expenses for the golf course.
I think we just need to know.
Okay. Well, you know, something that truly would be helpful, because some people's eyes glaze over when you give them a lot of financial detail. Others want more. It would just be helpful for everyone who's here. If there is some specific level of detail, give us your opinion as to what you want to see. This is your money. And we are very, very, I think, very, very good stewards of that money.
I think you are too.
And we want you to know, because I think it builds your faith and confidence in us. So tell us, to what extent do you want to see it? How do you want to see it? Do you want it in echoes? Do you want it on the website? Do you want a separate mailing? Just, do you want a general meeting where you come in and just tell us what level of detail you want to see? I'm lucky to have made it through 9 credit hours of accounting, and so my eyes glaze over at some point. But, you know, so you just tell us. Shoot Bruce an email or shoot me an email and let us know. Yes, sir. I moved. Well, you know what? If I can get this gentleman first. Yes.
I've got one question and one suggestion. My question is...
First your name and your lot number.
Oh, yeah. Dan Boyers, lot number 626.
Okay.
On the task force / committee or whatever for the golf course, are there any HVL residents on
Yes.
it? And I golf probably, I don't know, 30, 40 times a year. I golf here once a year because I get my free pass. And
that's telling you something. Okay.
It would be awfully nice to be able to go to the golf course and not. I understand the folks that are paying $1,300, $1,600. They should get first dibs. But what's wrong with saying, hey, you need to call 12, 24 hours ahead of time, make a tee time? Why can't I call and say, hey, I'd like to golf at 10 a.m. or even 12:30? I show up at 12:30 and then I've got a ranger on my butt saying, hey, you need to hurry up. A member's coming up behind you playing quicker. I'm like,
okay,
I paid for this too.
Yeah, Pat and Jen, can you help me here? A resident can call up and get a tee time, right?
No. Not before noon. Not before noon.
Okay.
Just the way that everybody here is passionate about their amenities, so are the people who are members of the golf club who pay. People pay $1,300, $1,600 a year. They want to protect their rights to golf.
And I pay $900 a year to live here, and I've got rules that I've got to live by.
That's right.
Why can't they say, hey, 24 hours ahead of time, just call me?
Well, usually if you call the pro, he can tell you what groups that they've got going off when and when you can come over and play. I mean, I've done that. When I've been a member, I've been not a member. When I was not a member, I could call over and say. And typically, they don't want you teeing off before 11 or 12, I think it is, Pat. Anytime after that, you as a resident can go over and tee off.
I usually get a flat no until the afternoon, and then I still get grass for moving out.
That's feedback we need to take to heart. Thank you. And you had another question?
You already answered the question about the...
I think this guy right straight back over here has been waiting forever. I'm trying to get to it. Yeah.
Backing off of what this gentleman just said, as far as like the task force and everything, the problem is really bringing the revenue into the golf course. Have we thought about making this, nobody go crazy, semi-private to the point where we have leagues on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, mixed couples? That could supplement some of the income that's coming in that we're not actually getting from the quote-unquote yearly resident or yearly pass holders. I mean, are we thinking about doing that?
Was everyone able to hear? Essentially, we'll call that the Sugar Ridge model.
Yes, exactly. Of course, I know. Yeah, I love that. I'm a member there. I love that.
Yeah, we call that the Sugar Ridge model. And I can tell you that in our
our brainstorming session, that was one of the things that was talked about.
Yeah.
That your course essentially becomes a public course.
Well, especially since you mentioned before about maintenance being on Mondays. Wouldn't Monday afternoons kind of make sense if everybody gets out there about 6 o'clock in the morning, knocks all their stuff out about 1:32? Everybody could get out about 5 or 6 o'clock, and then we could go ahead and supplement. I mean, was that met with like open arms, closed arms? I mean, what was going on with that?
It was not outside yet, but I will tell you that based on the feedback of this, there are a number of people who have responded on Facebook and who have sent me emails who said, no, we're a private community, we do not want to go there. So what I tell you is, if we were ever going to do that, we would talk to you first.
Okay. I'm not going to play it, but I'll be there. All right.
Is outside of this community. That makes it not a community. See, 69% of the members. Yeah, but there's members at Sugar Ridge, there's members at Aston. You can have members and still have tea times, still have leagues, still have not tournaments every Saturday and Sunday. Why is it that these members, just because that's the way it's always been done, the course was sold. That doesn't mean every Saturday and Sunday they have to have a tournament that stops other people from playing at that course.
But understand, Karen, and I agree with you, but understand, for that golf course to be successful, it requires the goodwill and the support of two guys to prove the competing interest.
Right, but like I said, there's plenty of other courses in our surrounding area that have membership.
Right.
And those members get preferential tea times, but is it necessary that every Saturday and Sunday they have a tournament that eliminates other players?
Right, which is cool. We understand that that the people that are actually members, they go and they're the they get that.
I'm
Being
not
said,
saying that.
the reason that we're
It's
having
like
this
that in
meeting
every
right now
course that has
is
members.
because people are pissed off and we need to go and bring more money into this. So we need to think outside the box.
Would any of you be willing to come to a town hall where it's not, look at just, I don't want to say beat up on the board, but what did you do or what didn't you do? Sure. But the purpose of it is, look, help us.
I would ask for
what
people
can you do?
There's a lot of people in this community, like this gentleman said, he plays 30-something times a year, but plays here once. Somebody like him that's out playing other courses could have good feedback.
Richard, what do you think the best way to get input from the community would be as far as their ideas for things that might help with the golf course?
Not Facebook.
You know what? I truly do hate Facebook. I know.
Let me if I can.
Yeah.
I'm starting my 10th week as communications. I've been living in Hidden Valley for 18 years. I love it here. The job that we're trying to accomplish is to improve our communications. That's the most important thing we can do. When we send out an email to everybody, it goes out to 1,735 subscribers. We get about 30% of people that open it. 70% don't even look at the emails. On Facebook, it's a very similar thing. We can do something with the snow plows, and we can do something with the polar plunge. We get a very small amount of people that we reach. We have to improve that. We've got to make that better. I would like to also say that I am part of the task force. So when I
fired.
Let me just finish just a couple things. The task force was formed because we are a private golf club. That's what it's always been. It's always been a private golf club. And our goal was to keep it private. And to keep it private, we have to get more members. I don't know if everybody knows, but Pat, you know, the maximum amount of members we could have in that golf club is 350. If we ever got to 300 members,
we would be so profitable that there wouldn't be these discussions going on. We did 4 things to try to encourage new memberships in the task force. And I want everybody to know we centered these around the golf show that was held in Cincinnati. One of them, which is what we're all talking about now, was to say if we leveraged our amenities, I know it's a nasty thing to bring up, but if we leveraged our amenities, would we encourage more members? Would we get in that number to get us up to 250, 300? We spent 3 days at the Cincinnati Golf Show. We walked away from that show and we said, no, it doesn't make any difference. Anybody looking to be a member of this golf club didn't care about the pool. They didn't care about the fitness center. It was nothing. We stopped it on the 14th. We discussed in our task force that was not a direction to go, and we stopped it. If it was, and if there was some success, it would be brought to the board, and that decision would have to be taken to that next level. We did not want to do it. It's just like McDonald's. You know, I talked about a ribwich sandwich. You know what? When they tested that, they brought it to Fort Wayne, right? They tried it in Fort Wayne. If it went good, then they took it to all the restaurants. That's all we were doing. But let me also say there's 3 other things we did. We're putting signage up at the front. Never been signage, people going up and down State Line Road. Many people don't even know there's a golf course. They go up to Sugar Ridge, they come back down, they don't know there's no sign. We're putting a nice banner. It was only $160. It's not a big expense. Got an arrow, Hidden Valley Golf Club. That's the second thing. The third thing the task force did was introduce a 10 round golf pass, either 10 rounds 9 holes or 10 rounds 18 holes. You could only buy 1 golf pass a year, and that membership or that money that you spent for that golf pass would be applicable toward a membership, to encourage more people coming in, to encourage people to say it's really a great place to golf. And you know what? It's a great golf course. How many have been out when we were at the golf show, everybody came up and we'd say, have you golfed at Hidden Valley? Boy, I haven't been there in 20 years. And there were hundreds and hundreds of people that we talked to. We set ourselves a goal that we said, come June of this year, we're going to measure where we are, we're going to measure what we're doing, and we're going to determine if we can be successful to stay private. All your ideas are all good, but there's all ramifications when you go public. There's all ramifications when you go semi-private. A lot of things you have to think about. The fourth thing that we did was we introduced a program called Trade In, Trade Up. You can take your passes, the one you got free, you can give that in, you get $68, you can get a 10-round pass. That was done to encourage more members, more people in our communities to become members of the golf club. We've only got 30%. 70% is outside. We want to flip that around. So the task force was 8 people. They're professionals. All of us have been involved on it. Our goal was to keep the club private. We've improved everything from the 19th hole to all the other features. So my goal and what my job is, unless I'm fired after this whole thing, and I do take the blame. I probably should have done more when it comes to the communication side.
I like you. I was kidding.
But we really have to increase our. We've got a new Echoes that's going out now that's going to be wireless. So we will have a much greater readership on Echoes than we've had before. We're doing much more aggressive, much better on email, much better on Facebook, and our whole our whole website is being revamped so that there will be more like your smartphone. It'll be more immediate. It'll be a lot more. It takes a little time to do that. But I would like to thank the board, number one, because they set up this task force. They wanted us to put these pieces together, and we've done it. And we think we have 4 things that are going to show some real merit in the next 2 to 3 months. Remember, it's only the 1st of February right now. Nobody's thinking golf. When they start thinking golf, they see that sign, we're going to start continuing moving forward to be a private club. Come June, July, maybe there'll be other reasons. Maybe there'll be other things that we're thinking about doing. But right now, I really think we're on the right track. And I think it's showing when we look at where we're at. We've got, what, 3 or 4 new members we signed up? 4 new members? That's darn good in the winter.
Thank
So,
you.
and you know what? Look all around. Sugar Ridge, they're not doing so good. Dearborn, there's some issues at Dearborn Country Club, but these are, and Rising Sun is not a private club. It's a public club. If it weren't for the casino, there'd be issues up there as well. So we're really solid, and we're doing the right thing. Yeah, we've lost members, we know that. But I'll tell you, we're better than everything around us. Thank you.
Brian, did you have a comment?
Yes, ma'am. Brian
lot
Burns,
number?
lot number is 892.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate your insight. First of all, thank you to everyone who's been here. Thank you to the board for having a meeting. One, you guys are all volunteer. I got paid to do what you guys do.
There's not enough money in the world that would make us do this.
It's insane.
Yes.
It is very challenging. I was here because I was appalled by the possibility of amenities being given away, and I've had multiple meetings with you and Bruce. I can be honest, I think we're taking a very micro look at a very macro problem. I mean, just clearly. I came here and I've said many, many times over, I would pay 2 to 3 times what I do to get here, what I would pay, honestly.
You mean in dues and assessment?
Absolutely. And I think that's all over the country. I mean, you've got board members that have gone over the country and very similar of what we have. I agree, we do keep good amenities, but I would pay much more to have more. I mean, we need bathrooms at the marina. The lakes bathrooms are disgusting. I don't want my girls going to the bathroom in there. We're really doing a great job of keeping the pencil finely pointed to keeping the budgets really tight, and I value that. I'm a fiscal conservative. But at some point, we are going to have to talk tough about, are we going to increase our amenities? Are we going to keep this club public or private? And ultimately, we got to communicate better. What you just said, I knew nothing about. I played 5-10 rounds of golf a year. I suck at golf. But I sure as hell would rather play here. I would love to have known that there was a 10-round thing. First of all, I'm not on Facebook. I love to read things in print. I love email, and I don't want to be on Facebook. But if any of that was out there, how the heck did I not know? Hold on 1 second. I'm plugged into every meeting possible that a 35-year-old, to 40-year-old person in this community can be. I've been to board meetings. I've been on boards. I've done task forces. I've worked for the county. I've done everything possible to be plugged into this and still had no idea. That's a failure. It's a failure on every level. So I'm not here to beat up anybody because I've sat there and I've said I've made many failures. And I would love to sit there and fix some of the things that I think we don't do well here. But what you had to say, I didn't need to wait an hour to hear. Okay? I wanted to hear what the golf course wants to do. I want a plan. I want to hear the plan. I'm glad you went to the golf show. You want to keep it public or private? Great. I'm in fact in favor of keeping it private. But why nobody should be run off by a golf manager? I don't want to. I'm going to be in the woods half the time, but I'm going to have fun playing. And if you're going to give me passes, I want to be able to use them. You know, I've never used my passes because I don't want to pay for the cart. That's so dumb, but honestly, I'm paying for it. I feel like, you know, I gave you the golf course for it to be private for 300 members. Why the hell can't I play on and have a cart? You know, all of that stuff, I'm just thinking, task forces are great, committees are great. You got to get involved. Everyone's going to leave this meeting, and none of us, but a few, are really honestly going to get involved. So please get involved. They're great people that are here. We got a great community, and I do appreciate everybody.
Thank you. And you are the poster boy for why we opened the purse strings and just a few weeks ago hired someone to say, help us. We have people here who are very busy. They want to know, but they're too busy. We have people here who don't really want to know but need to know. How do we reach them? And that is why Richard is here, to help us reach people. So you are not surprised by this. But going to his point, our challenge is, if we send you 100 emails a week, if you're a normal human being, you're going to hit that delete button and not even open them. How do we get that information to you? And that's going to be Richard's.
And I agree with you, Patricia, I really do. My only thing is he's the head of communications, and he just told me more than I've heard ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's his job, no offense. That really honestly is your job, and you never reach me.
Okay, yes ma'am.
Mine's more of a statement. My name is Jermaine Smith. I live on Craigenhurst. Why don't you guys just tell us what figure you're looking for as far as revenue numbers that you'd like to be at? We all have email or send a letter. Everybody write down what they think would be a great idea to generate some revenue. Get it sent in. Let you guys look at it. Have another meeting and start picking something and moving on it, because we're going to sit here all night and just debate.
Okay.
I will.
Pat, we will talk about that. Pat, Jen, Bruce, my fellow board members, we will talk about that. Thank you. Yes, Luann.
It takes money to make money.
I know it does. Always. And something
You know,
that...
if they had a big banquet room over there,
Then a new building.
I know, but it takes money to
Hmm.
make money.
I know.
You know how much revenue that would bring in?
It would bring in a tremendous amount of revenue, but it would bring in a colossal amount of debt.
It would be in competition
In
with
order to go,
Curly's.
but you're right. That could be parlayed into so much more than it is.
And I mean, nicer than what our community room is, and like what the Dearborn County is.
Yes, sir, in the yellowish green shirt.
Scott Mason, I think I'm on 2223 and 2224, pretty sure. Everybody has been, my fault, their fault. There has been not one thing said about what is going to keep the committee, from doing another FUBAR to really, see, we got lucky. We was able to pull back and retract the mistakes that was made. So what happens next time if it goes overboard? What happens for 2,000 people, your next decision you make to try to get money?
Okay.
What happens if 2,000 people sign up for it and you can't pull the money back?
Okay. All right.
And what's going to happen, and if there's somebody to blame, if I get in trouble at work, it's my ass.
Well, I have already told you that if you wish to assign blame, that person has to be me.
No.
And so.
I wish I could do that at work.
Well, I am the one.
Okay, if I volunteer for something, if I'm at the Shrine Circus and I volunteer for something and I screw up,
thank you. Yes.
Then it's my fault. They get rid of you. It's not right to be able to sit there and take blame. I mean, it's across the board blame.
But
is there oversight, undersight? I don't know what you call it. But there's not been one person sit there and say, this is why this is not ever going to happen again. That's
Safety
what we
net.
Find out.
Now, but I want to correct you, because I think there were two things that were discussed. The first was when Jared was part of the conversation
I
about.
got one more thing. And you just said earlier, and I was going to make that sure I wanted that clarified. The board members can get people in here that are not members? Is that what you were saying?
The way I read the bylaws and the way our attorney reads the bylaws, there is nothing in there to stop it.
For real?
No, I would disagree with that. I would think that there's going to be another opinion. If push came to shove, there would be another opinion looked at.
$1,000 of your money litigating this in court.
Well, that would be a big deal.
But what Jared has said is that is something that we can look at, because we have, as a board, been very willing to put limits on our ability to make decisions on your behalf. The 15% rule is one of them. That did not have to be in there. No. Please let me finish, sir. The other is that I have said that as the president of the board, it is my responsibility to put something together that goes in our bylaws after it is approved that clearly lays out the scope of what a task force can do. The way our system is supposed to work is that the group that is accountable to anybody in this community is the board of directors, because we are the 5 people who you elect. Committees self-select. They serve on a committee because they have an interest. That is why in the bylaws there is language as to how you can remove a committee member, because you know what, you can go on a committee and be there for 40 years. The board, you can't. At some interval, you have to go before the community and be elected or re-elected. That is the limit on us. But we are the 5 people who are accountable to you, and we clearly failed you. I failed you, and we will take those steps to fix it. Yes, Keith.
Not her.
Big time for bringing that up. We're here today, everybody, because a big thing happened on Facebook, and we found out about something. Okay. It's very important about how to make money for that golf course. I'm not a golfer, but I know that that's very important. It's very important that we check with the bylaws and make sure these things can't happen again. But to go back to Scott, we're here today because that happened. Why did that happen? We are not represented on the board. I'm going to give you a solution, guys, right now. I'm going to give you a solution. How this doesn't happen, how that discussion stops back in December, is if we have people on that board that are using these amenities, that are on that lake, in that pool, and I mean every day, and a part of this and have a stake in the game. Because I tell you what, if I'm on that board, I'm going to go, hell no, the mom and the kids are not going to deal with that. That's who I'm here to fight for. I'm not here to fight for the golf course. I'm not here to fight for everybody else. Just the kids and the moms. There's no representation at all on that board from this. Nobody on that board looks like me. You're doing a great job, but I'm not represented on that board at all. I don't want the whole board to represent me. I want 1 or 2 people on that board to represent the valley, which is about what? 60, 70, 80% moms and families and kids. We get on that board. This doesn't happen anymore. There's a check and balance. There's 2 spots coming up. There's 2 spots coming up. We need to get the right people in there, and then these things happen. It's not just you. It's that entire board. You don't have to take responsibility. Ma'am, I'm going to run it, and I've been kicking ass in this place for 15 years, working with the kids, with the parents, and everything. I am just for the kids here. I'm not going to fight for adults. I don't need to. But I'll get on that board. I got other people that get on that board. That's a solution, people. That's a solution. Not, let's go down and look at these numbers, this. Those are important. We got to fix this problem from happening. The valley is not represented on our board.
Thank you, Pete. Is
You
there
know,
anyone else?
let me just ask quickly though. So what volunteer work have you done already? What committees have you been on?
So I've been
what have
working
you,
with the
what have
Children's
you
Activity
done?
Committee for 15 years. I've been on the sports committee as much as I could until we didn't have a place.
How
on our
many
fields,
board meetings
and I had
have
to
you
go out
come?
the valley.
How many board
I'm the
meetings
one
have
that,
you
I'm
come
the
to?
one that went around for all night, every night to get the pool signatures. I spent about 3 weeks of my time doing that, coming to fight against you guys to give us a pool in a safety and a size that we needed that hadn't been improved in 40 years. That's who I am, sir. I'm here every day fighting for the valley.
Very good.
That's who I am. I don't need to be questioned by anybody on what I've given this valley. You can talk to that man. You can talk to this lady right here.
I'll question it.
Any
I'll question
person
anybody's on
who
it.
is a member in good standing is eligible to run for the board. And I hope that people who have passion for the community do that. Okay? Are there any other questions? Yes.
Jason Wilson, 2106 and 7. As far as the private club goes, everyone I've ever been associated with is food and beverage.
Meeting if there's nothing.
Right.
If you
Anywhere from
have
2
a
to
family,
300.
did you still want to go over the
I'm looking at your numbers.
fines and everything?
That's double your revenue with no new members.
Yeah. I don't know how many of you are aware, but for many years, Steve here at Willie's ran the food operation at the golf club. Generally, the food doesn't make much money, but the liquor sales more than offset it, and Steve did that for us. It was just this past year that we went to running the snack bar itself. Having a minimum spend is something that I think was thought of very briefly because, quite honestly, the kitchen is not really equipped to do a lot of dining. When I have been to country clubs, I was at Espino's just last week for lunch. That is a very different setting there. So I think that's something that was considered, but with the kitchen that we have and without a significant capital expenditure to upgrade the food facilities, that would probably not be practical.
$100 a month's going to double your membership fees, and people are going to drink that at least. You know, I mean, if you're golfers, you got your golfers that.
Well, let me say this: there is no minimum, but these people really support that. Anytime we have any kind of fundraiser, anytime a golf out, and these members show up, and they have all kinds of Friday is mixed couples. And then there's a Wednesday night group. There's several games during the week. I mean, these people come up a lot. Anytime, Easter or whatever, fish fries and all that stuff, they come and they spend that amount already. I'm just saying.
Sponsorships, like where your local business is.
We've got that. People sponsor the pencils. They've got. I mean, there's always more that you can find. But those are inputs. Actually, Pat's a great one to run some of those ideas, or send them to us, and we'll get them out to the right people. But we try to monetize what we can, and that's fair on it. And there's a lot that they do. you know, the numbers, yeah, I mean, they are what they are, but a lot of it's on the expense side. And it's just because of the capital things that are being spent. But these members work hard. I mean, this one gentleman, you paid 168 rounds? 154 rounds. I mean, there's a guy showing up a lot. He can probably beat you and I, by the way. Badly.
Okay, are any other questions? Mr. Blomstead?
Just one more, 2418, Tom Blomstead. I just want to say that I disagree with the gentleman's observation that people in this room are not represented by the board in this way. Once a month, an open forum, you're welcome to ask any question of any elected board member on any topic, any time. And so if you are not represented, if your opinion is not being expressed, you have only yourself to blame. And if you want to run for the board and present the reasons why you should be elected, thank God for the democratic process. But make no mistake about it. You have an opportunity to be heard in multiple ways: email, text, phone, message, representation at the once a month meetings. And if you can't get to the meetings, you can get the information to the board members through email or multiple other ways. So good luck. I hope you are successful in your endeavor to become a part of the board. I do. I think you misrepresented what I said. Wait, no, what I'm saying is, any suggestion that you're not heard, not true.
I didn't say I'm not heard. I'm not on the board.
Now you said people. You said that you are not represented by the
I think we got to talk about something else.
You know, Tom, what I think Keith might be referring to is Keith is at a very different point in his life than I am. My daughter is grown and gone and living on her own, so I don't have as much of a personal need to know what's going on with children. I don't have any children here. I think that's what he was referring to. I can assure you that if you bring something to the board in written format, the board will respectfully and seriously
I don't want that. I want you to think like us, like this families in the valley. I want you to think, how would this affect my pool and my kids? That's not happening. I was in a battle 6 years ago here because that didn't happen.
I was with you on that.
Absolutely you were. You and I fought together on that. It was the same problem, Pat.
All right. All right. Sir, you had a comment?
Going out of here looking for membership, we have 17 homes. Nobody's ever asked, why would I want to join your club? What would it take for me to join this club? And there's a lot of golfers out here, never been asked.
I think that, Richard, we have the capability, with SurveyMonkey, do we have the capability of going out fairly quickly and just asking a question like that? What could we do to interest you in joining this on a limited basis or a full-time basis? We have that? Okay.
That's a good question. We just did our first run of surveys at the center. We've got 4 more scheduled. They're all going to be based on amenities that we talked about on Saturday, what's going to be the best to go after, and golf club's going to be a big part of it, asking people what they would do to have to be able to join that club.
Some of us would only want a weekday.
Right.
I hear you.
Our biggest challenge is the medium to get that out, to get the response back. We can send out 300 of them, we get 15 back.
But you know what? You assume it's representative at a certain level, and that's all you can do. Yes, sir. You had a question or a comment?
Tracy, 871 Interlock, what this young man down there just referred, is I am a golfer, and I've looked at joining, but for me to play golf here at $1,300 or $1,500 would be 50 rounds. Well, a lot of us don't play 50 rounds in a year.
My husband learned that the hard way.
Right. But what I'm getting at is, what if you lowered that down to where it's more reasonable. For me to spend $750, $800 for a membership here, I'd do it in a minute because I would come here and play one day a week. You're not going to make as much money on the membership, but you're going to make money on the beer I drink. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
He's telling you the
We
truth.
got that in our house too. Now, Richard, that is a question that could be part of the survey. Wouldn't it? Okay.
It's kind of like the lower taxpayers kind of a thing. It's a suggestion.
Okay.
But if
It's a good one. Thank you.
If you made it down a little more reasonable for me, I'd join in a minute, and I would be here at least once a week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And that's something we could incorporate in there. Are there any other questions on the golf course? Yes, sir.
I never heard that until he was gone.
Yeah. Okay. That's a communication issue.
No, but I'd even pay more. I'd pay $750, $800, even if I wasn't going to get $800 worth of golf out of it. It would give me that opportunity to come in on Saturday morning to play once or twice a month. On Saturday morning, I can't now. So you go
That's down there.
So, and I'm not trying to compete with the guys that pays $1,500 or $1,300. That's not what it is.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
How about, I think we kind of hinted on it, graduated membership. So if a person only plays 30 or 40 rounds a year, they pay a certain amount. That's what they pay. If they want to play more, they pay more. They pay extra.
I think anybody can smack it, but I think it's actually that's his past with his that direction. Any other questions?
Well, we have a gentleman that wants to talk about the wall. I hate to see him get out here without the wall. No wall. Bruce's wall. Bruce's wall.
Do you have anything to say, Amy?
That's not big enough.
I got
it. Bigger. It's going to have a curb top to it.
Actually, they're all made of